Batman. Baker Street feels a world away from Gotham, but your message intrigued me. The DEA chased Heisenberg for nearly 2 years before catching him, and only then because his own brother-in-law happened to be assigned the case. 2 years is an embarrassment for investigators of that caliber.
2 years, and the clues were there from month 1. A high school chemistry teacher suddenly financing a car wash, missing school for mysterious reasons, driving around in a battered RV with a masked partner. Hank Schrader had access to evidence that should have connected the dots in weeks, not years.
The RV alone should have ended this in the first arc. Distinctive vehicle, distinctive smell, spotted near multiple crime scenes, and somehow it vanished into a junkyard without proper follow-up. Real detectives would have tracked that vehicle's registration the moment it appeared on a single surveillance report.
Agreed. This isn't about what happened. It's about what should have happened months earlier, if the right eyes had been watching. Let's break down where the DEA failed, and where we would have already had him.
Start with the obvious blind spot. Hank interrogated Jesse Pinkman directly, tied him to a missing chemistry teacher's stolen equipment, and still never connected Walter White by name for over a year. A known former student, a former chemistry teacher, cooking meth of unprecedented purity. That connection should have taken an afternoon.
The purity was the biggest missed signal of all. 99.1% meth doesn't appear from nowhere. That level of chemistry expertise narrows the suspect pool immediately to a small handful of people in the entire region. Cross-reference local chemistry teachers against known associates of Pinkman, and White surfaces almost instantly.
Then there's the financials, clumsy even by amateur standards. A public school teacher suddenly owns a stake in a car wash he once worked at part-time. No investigator flagged that discrepancy for months. Money leaves a signature as loud as any fingerprint, and nobody bothered to look.
Skylar noticed before any agency did, and she wasn't even looking for a criminal. She was looking for an affair. That alone tells you how thin the investigative net was. A suspicious spouse outpaced a federal task force, using nothing but instinct and a shared bank account.
Let's get Robin's input here, a fresh perspective on how early this could realistically have unraveled.
Walt Jr. set up a website, asking strangers for donations to help his dad's cancer treatment. Right around the same time, his dad was suddenly flush with cash. Nobody at the DEA cross-referenced public fundraising pages against suspects under financial investigation. That's not hard to find, that's just not looking.
Exactly the type of oversight that ends investigations before they begin. Combine the fundraiser, the RV, and the sudden business investment, and any competent analyst reaches White's doorstep within the first few months, long before bodies started piling up or empires got built.
My plan starts before Hank ever gets involved. I'd flag every chemistry teacher in the state with recent financial changes, cross-reference against known distributors' associates, and have White's name on a watch list within the first month, before he ever partners with Gus Fring or builds a super lab.
I'd focus on the product itself from day one. That signature blue color and impossible purity mean a chemist with formal training is behind it, not a street cook. Canvass every chemistry department, every recent retiree or leave of absence, and White becomes the obvious suspect before he cooks his 10th batch.
Once identified, surveillance becomes simple. Track the RV, track the car wash deposits, track Jesse's known associates. White's operation depended entirely on staying invisible through ordinariness. Strip away that invisibility in month 1, and there's no time for him to build the empire that took 2 years to unravel.
I'd add pressure through Jesse directly, earlier and harder. He was always the weaker link, arrested multiple times before anyone thought to squeeze him properly for information on his supplier. A slightly more aggressive interrogation in year 1 exposes White's identity without needing 2 more years of chaos.
The key is timing. Every piece of evidence that eventually surfaced already existed early on, scattered across financial records, medical fundraising pages, and Hank's own case files. Nobody needed new information. They needed someone to connect what was already sitting there, gathering dust in separate folders nobody cross-referenced.
Which is the entire tragedy of this case. Walter White wasn't a criminal mastermind who outsmarted the system. He was an ordinary man who slipped through gaps that competent oversight would have closed immediately. The DEA didn't lose to genius. they lost to their own lack of coordination.
Caught early, there's no body count, no empire, no Gus Fring partnership, no children poisoned. Just a chemistry teacher quietly arrested for a first offense, before it ever became something larger. That's the version of this story that should have happened, if anyone had simply been paying attention.
In this version, gentlemen, Walter White is apprehended within his first 4 months as Heisenberg, well before Gus Fring, before the Superlab, before a single life is lost to his ambition. The evidence was there the entire time, scattered and ignored by an investigation too slow to connect it. Justice, this time, arrives before the tragedy does.